Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausan Pereira. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked people to share technology-driven solutions for coronavirus. In a tweet, Prime Minister Modi said a lot of people have been sharing technology-driven solutions for COVID-19. The Prime Minister urged them to share it on citizen engagement platform MyGov.in, saying that the efforts can help many. The Prime Minister said innovation should be harnessed for a healthier planet. MyGov.in in a statement said innovative solutions, bio-informatics, data sets and apps for diagnosis can be leveraged for strengthening the fight against coronavirus. It said submitted solutions will be evaluated for adoption and those selected will be suitably rewarded. Meanwhile, to ensure safety of citizens amid the coronavirus outbreak, the Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikanta on Monday asked customers to use digital banking facilities as far as possible. Das also added, in the context of COVID-19, RBI and the government together are giving emphasis on encouraging digital payments. And over a period of time, various measures have already been taken to establish safe, secure, stable and affordable retail payment systems such as the National Electronic Fund Transfer or NEFT and the Immediate Payment Service, that is IMPS. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze digital solutions to fight coronavirus. Joining me on the program today are Jitin Jain, digital technology expert, Shishir Sinha, Senior Deputy Editor, The Hindu Business Line, and Arvind Gupta, Head and Co-Founder, Digital India Foundation. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. So, Jitin Jain, let me begin the program with you. Let's first try and understand, what kind of tech-driven solutions can we look at? Can we expect, some kind of apps maybe, or some innovative out-of-the-box ideas really, or anything for that matter to try and tackle this particular pandemic that is staring us in the eye?
I think first and foremost is research collaboration, especially the data sets. So there are a lot of Chinese researchers who uploaded data sets on repositories at GitHub, and they are being used by researchers across the world. Basically for data visualization. So you had a article online about the impact of different approaches of handling COVID-19 and how would that react in a particular set of society. And that complete research was done by a techie using the open data sets which are available online. But then EU is calling for a lot of applications for innovation using apps. I mean, for example, you could figure out the nearest Medicare facilities in case you are feeling sick. UK has gone into an automated self-screening of patients that online a check whether you have got the right symptoms and whether you want to visit a doctor or not. You could also see, in a country like India, where we have, very close demography and medical facilities in, per 100, set of people are not as good as what we are seeing in China or, what we've seen in Italy. If Italy and France could collapse under strain on medical facilities, I think we could look at a first thing in India. So I think online data sets can help in reducing the burden on hospitals by diverting the patients to maybe the private labs, which are, I think, government is going to accredit them. They can reduce the number of patients by letting them know that, what is coronavirus and what is ordinary cold or cough. So I think a lot of things can come in, and I think it's you could use technology to track patients. I think Israel is exploring how you could track the patients post-treatment of coronavirus, because we have seen instances where there is the virus has generated again after the treatment. I think because now there is a new research which is saying that the mild virus strain remains post 2 weeks of the treatment. So you could track people who are being quarantined. You could track people who are being who are already being treated and released, so that tomorrow if one of them confirms positive, you could figure out where all they traveled, how many people came in their contact. Singapore has been using cell tower data analysis to figure out where a person traveled who was tested positive and then quarantining the people who are in the same vicinity. So, I mean, there are endless possibilities and these are challenging times. So, innovation or a solution could come from any quarter in the society. So, I think Prime Minister has done a great thing by inviting ideas from the ordinary people from different walks of life, which could help the society as a whole.
Absolutely. Shishir Sinha, let's take this discussion forward from where Jitin just left it, talking about Singapore and the mobile towers and trying to pinpoint people, or, GPS tracking apps that South Korea and Israel have used. When you look at the scale of, say, a South Korea and India or an Israel and India, can we, replicate that model here?
See, Of course, we can replicate. The only thing is that how you can do it and how soon you can do it. The problem we all understand at this moment that we are entering into the second stage, or somebody saying that we are almost on the verge of entering the third stage. So when we have this kind of situation, what kind of technical and what kind of technological support we have. Of course, I mean, if you compare with Singapore or a country like Taiwan, Taiwan has an amazing success story in battling with this kind of virus thing. And we all know the geographical location of Taiwan. But how they have done it, of course, some kind of technical support, they have some kind of innovation they have adopted, and all these have given a very positive result. In India, the only thing is that the kind of population we have, 130 crore plus population, and the other thing is, the other problem is that the kind of infrastructure, the digital infrastructure in some parts of country may not be as good as we see in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata or Chennai or Hyderabad or Bangalore. So we have a different kind of problems in different parts of country, and using technology across the country in a similar way may not be easy, but still I believe that even if we control in some part of the country or in cities like major cities, then we will be able to control this kind of spread.
So better coordination, and we have to use everything that we possibly have in our arsenal if we have to put an end to COVID-19 is what Shishir Sinha is suggesting. Let me go across to Arvind Gupta now. You know, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, the RBI too has spoken about how we should use digital modes of payment. You know, there's several studies that have shown that how, notes are probably one of the dirtiest things that we have around. So from that perspective, how important is it for us to push, or rather give our digital India idea another push at this point in time?
See, I think, Frank, Mr. Sinha and my friend Jiten have spoken some very, very valid points. I'll make a few comments and then comment on the digital cash side of it. And number one, I think we have seen the whole talk around open data sets. There's a lot of open data coming out of countries which have, second stage, third stage, come in and come out of this crisis, this pandemic. But the biggest gain that India can have today is to use these open data sets and try to use artificial intelligence to help citizens, first of all, kind of pre-screen themselves. And in that sense, I think a lot of technologies exist in India, a lot of platforms exist in India which can reach out to the masses. I kind of disagree with Mr. Sinha that India's digital infrastructure does not reach to the villages. With 60 crore mobile internet connections that we have, I think the reach is massive in India, and I think every household has a smartphone today. So if we can make some solutions available through technology, which based on the Prime Minister's call today on the platform that I used to be the CEO of MyGov, we are going to crowdsource a lot of good solutions. So I think that's a very novel way itself of getting solutions crowdsourced from the whole creative energy of India, and then using them for solving this critical problem. Number one. Number two, I think digital technology, the issues of not only payments, but I think this is giving fillip to a very important issue of, like, for example, issues of working from home. Digital commerce, buying more things online, of course making payments online. All of this is going to play a very important role in maintaining the social distance, the flattening the curve that we have always heard about. Based plainly on your point, what Mr. Shaktikanta Das also said, I think cash is of course not only very expensive, but in this case the probably you really don't know who all has contacted that cash when you transact through cash. So I think this is a clarion call to make sure that we can use card payments, contract-like payments, digital payments as much as possible. The best infrastructure exists in India. The UPI, NEFT, IMPS, they're all available. They work 24/7. You can pay, or you can pay for anything almost sitting at from your home or from a mobile phone. So I think we have to start using that a lot more. It's an important thing that people realize that digital is not only a way to promote accountability and transparency, but also in this case can help them maintain the right levels of hygiene and actually save a country from this exponential growth of this virus.
Absolutely. All right, taking the discussion forward and taking a cue from what Arvind Gupta just said, Jitin Jain, work from home, of course, no touch delivery, e-commerce, orders from grofers and big baskets, they're all going up on the rise. I think grofers and big basket have reported over 100% increase in their business. So do you believe that these are solutions, or these are part solutions to the problem that we are facing? And also, what are the challenges really that these industries are going to face in the near future?
I mean, these are partial solutions. I'll give you an example. I saw several videos of Wuhan, that what happened during the lockdown, how the city survived. So for the 3 weeks, there was an absolute sort of a curfew and home quarantine orders for everyone, that you would not come out of your society. And only thing that kept the city going was the riders who were delivering food. So Wuhan has a very strong Zomato-like system where you can book an order and the drivers keep collecting your orders and keep delivering your food. So, and they were absolutely contactless delivery. That was possible because they were contactless payments. Everything was paid online. They would drop the food outside your society and they would go away after keeping a distance of 5 meters. That was all possible because you had not only the online payment available, but the online ecosystem for deliveries taking orders available. I think that is one good thing which has happened in India last 5 years, that today there is no panic. Everybody is saying that there are no hand sanitizers in the market, there are no masks in the market. 10 years ago, we would have had riots in the fronts of hospitals, but today it is not happening because people can see that, masks are available, if not at this shop, at Amazon, grofers. They might be 10%, 20% expensive, but there is no panic. Second thing, what technology has, given us is that there is no information vacuum. 10 years ago, during SARS and all, there was so much of information vacuum. There were all sort of rumors floating around. Today, using those open data sets, government is able to tell you what is the exact state of epidemic in India, how many people are being treated, where they're treated, how many are getting better. Like for example, simple thing like 2% people are getting casualties and 15% is the treatment rate for every 100. So, people don't panic because you have information available, you have global experiences available. I think people have sort of faith in the system and society. Industries are not crashing because India predominantly depends on IT sector today. And that has not collapsed just because, as Arvind rightly pointed out, that we have got technologies like VPN available, which has enabled many people to work from home. Many channels are planning to go using a live view, so that you don't have to come to studios, you don't have to go to the road. You could use mobile phones, you could work from home. So I think all this entire online ecosystem, coupled with the new efforts by the government, maybe if there is a solution where you could create mobile testing facilities for coronavirus, especially for rural India, if you could prepare mobile enabled labs, I think that would help. It's a novel effort. It may not achieve anything, but that mere attempt, an idea of inviting people to help, that itself is praiseworthy.
Absolutely. So testing capacity is one aspect that is being spoken about as well. That needs to increase really. We've spoken about that in previous programs as well, so I'm not going to focus on that right now. But looking on the economic side of things, Shishir Sinha, how much of an impact is this likely to have on our economic ecosystem?
If we take the figure, I mean, there is a rough estimate that it could be up to 90 basis point. I mean, less than 1% impact on our GDP growth rate. And as we all know that we are passing through a slowdown kind of thing, we have number of quarters with a lower GDP growth rate. So, and for this fiscal year, that's the 1920, we are estimating growth rate of 5%. But now there is an estimate that it will come down by at least 50 basis point to 90 basis point. This is one thing. But the good thing is that we have a very small share in global supply chain. If you compare with other countries, they have a larger share, and that is why they are going to be more affected. We have sometimes it is good that you don't have that kind of share in global trade. It's almost less than 3%. That is going to be a kind of helpful thing for us, that we will not be affected in that much. But you cannot say that if the global economy is affected by 40 basis point to 150 basis point and Indian economy will not be affected, that's not the correct thing. We are vulnerable to disruptions in global supply chain, but that impact will not be that much which the other countries are facing. That's some positive aspect from this thing. And also we are getting some kind of opportunity in this crisis, how we can develop various kind of raw materials which we are depending upon China or on some other countries for the supply thing. If we can develop those things, if you can go for more and more innovation, if we focus more on R&D, all these, this crisis is giving an opportunity to focus on that, and that will certainly help the economy in a longer run.
And also before the show, we were talking about notes.
So yeah, I just want to read something which Mr. Gupta also mentioned. And today this SBI, State Bank of India, has come out with this report. It says that microbiology and applied sciences in 2016, there is a study report which says that 86.4% of 120 currency notes collected were tested in the Department of Microbiology in Tirunelveli Medical College, and it was found that all are carrying some kind of microvirus. Another study was done in Lucknow, and it was said almost all the notes and currency which they collected from various shopkeepers, doctors, patient and everyone, every note and coin was carrying some kind of virus. So I think this is the right time to go for the digital thing. And when demonetization took place in 2016, everybody was criticizing. Many of us were criticizing, but now this is going to be giving an opportunity to go for more and more in digital, and that happened because of the demonetization. So whatsoever happened in demonetization, whatsoever criticism you have about the demonetization, but one good thing which is going to help you in this kind of crisis is the demonetization.
Absolutely. Scary figures there being quoted by Shishir Sinha, something for us to wake up, a wake-up call really for every citizen in this country. And when we have the options really to use digital modes of payment, I think we should go ahead with it. We have a robust system in place at the moment. All right. Arvind Gupta, talking about other aspects and other issues, of course, this issue of how South Korea has dealt with the problem, tracking apps, GPS-enabled systems that they have in place. Can we do what something like a South Korea or an Israel is doing at this point in time to put an end to coronavirus? Because there's going to be a lot of hue and cry here as far as privacy laws are concerned and other such aspects.
Well, number one, Frank, we have to understand this is when there is a patient which is considered as a case as infected and he or she has come in contact with so many people, we have to use contact tracing, and that is being deployed already in India. We had 125 cases today, but I think the number of contacts that each of them have made, each of them is being watched carefully. A lot of them have been prescribed self-isolation. This is called contact tracing. One is the GPS tracing, the other is contact tracing, and information being spread using contacts that are in your phone and advising them that if they have been in touch with the person XYZ, they need to make sure either they are getting tested or they're self-isolating themselves, watching for symptoms. So a lot of good information has gone. In fact, a few days ago, Kushan Mitra shared that somebody had traveled on the same train to Agra. Every passenger on the train got an SMS alert saying that somebody on the train has been found positive. So why don't you take the precautions, make sure you're self-isolating yourself, go, and if you see the symptoms, please go and get yourself tested. I want to add two more aspects to this. Since we are talking about testing and technology and digital, we had talked a lot about pre-screening apps. A lot of this is also an opportunity right now in using telemedicine to make sure that you can talk to patients remotely, any part of the country, and see if they are developing the pre-symptoms, and then advise them accordingly. A lot of anxiety also goes away this way, because a lot of people may not have the right symptoms but are starting to get stressed or anxious about those symptoms. So telemedicine can be deployed at scale right now to help both in testing as well as patients fearing they have the wrong symptoms to get over their fears. I think a lot is being done, a lot can be done. The Prime Minister himself has led from the front in doing digital conferences with the SAARC country. It's all over video conference. In fact, he was to travel to Bangladesh. He cancelled. The travel got cancelled, and that particular event was addressed via video conferencing. So, if the world leaders can start interacting in a new manner, I think this presents a case for all of us to understand that there is a different way to consume, a different way to travel, a different way to interact, different way to make payments, different way to buy things. So we all have to change our lifestyle a little bit and adopt better technologies, better services that keeps us safe and keeps our ecosystem safe.
Okay, all right. Time now to get closing comments from all my guests with the best way forward. But a bonus question also, Jitin, apart from your closing comments, this aspect of technology. I was reading somewhere earlier, I think this morning in the Hindustan Times, the South Korea model, where they could pinpoint, contact tracing was something that Arvind Gupta was talking about, where they could pinpoint the seat that the person was sitting at in the movie theater, who was sitting around him or her, and also where they could have possibly picked up their last lingerie from as well. So is this technology really available? Can we use it? What's it really?
It is available here in India also. So you could use a set of combinations of tower locations. You could use a set of locations of GPS locations if any app has been installed on the mobile phone. You could club it with the transaction history of a person. You could use it with the previous travel history of a person. But the problem is, like you see, we are in a sort of a society where any public monitoring for the public good also has been contested as a surveillance regime. I mean, government's attempts to monitor social media to look for fake news or rumor mongering also has been labeled as if there is some sort of dictatorial regime who's trying to pin down every sort of dissent. So I think now the very same people who were abusing and thrashing government for social media monitoring in elections and for fake news are the very same people who now want government to do the social tracking of this coronavirus suspects. So I think it is a time for introspection for we as a society, that why we must not thrash down the efforts of government to bring in technology every now and then. I think if government was to track people today, there will be a section of society who will start abusing government. I think all of us must support government in every effort which can save the larger epidemic, society from the larger epidemic, which can isolate certain people. Also, last thing, I think, in countries like Korea and Israel, they have huge tower density. We do not have that much of infrastructure. But whatever we have, even that we are not utilizing to fully. For example, I think NatGrid was to come up with the similar things. That project was shelved because of the objections by different sections of opposition parties and society. I think today is a learning lesson for all of us. If that was in place, probably, as Arvind was pointing out, this contact tracing would have been more accurate and more precise, and many lives would have been saved.
Absolutely. Shishit Sinha, the best way forward?
I think the one thing which I would just like to add is that we should not consider this as a social stigma. I mean, many a time we are seeing people are just leaving hospital, or people who are living from self-isolation, because people are just terming or branding them as a COVID-19 patient. Please do not do this. This is not something which is going to affect that. This is a curable, and we have seen number of cases which have been cured. So by using any mean, whether it is a telemedicine, whether it is a digital thing, or whether it is the doctor-patient relationship, we can cure that. Please do not consider this as a social stigma. That's the one thing which I just want to add.
Absolutely. And Arvind Gupta, close the show for us with the concluding remarks.
So I feel that while there is a lot of technology, a lot of communication, the government has done a very credible job of outreaching using mobile phones, pre-recorded messages, and spread awareness about it. I think all of us also should be very responsible and not convert our WhatsApp groups into mass forwarding just without verification. There's a lot of rumor mongering that happens via a few forwards, and one has to be a very responsible citizen right now. As someone said, fake news is very prevalent. We had a fake news yesterday that somebody, government was going to spray the whole city with sanitizing sprays through helicopters and aircraft. So there is tons of fake news out there. We have to be very careful, very responsible citizens. We have to focus on the right things like hygiene, social distancing, and keep continuing an activity. I mean, the message has been say no to panic, say yes to precautions, and I think we have to follow that in all aspects right now. And with that, this too shall pass. And India has done a credible job so far as a society. I think what Jiten was trying to say, we have to rise above certain partisan things. If it's a national epidemic, it's a global epidemic. So in that, if there is things the government needs to do to track people, to contact people, I don't think so it's a privacy violation. It's a call of national concern, and all of us should support such efforts.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So we have some time, please.
Digitally responsible citizen, if we become that kind of, because forwarding message, that has become a kind of almost a day-to-day routine. Every morning we start our day with just forwarding message, any message which has come from any side, and especially during this kind of situation, forwarding any message, please read it carefully. Please just think before forwarding. Then that would be the real thing which you can contribute in controlling this kind of situation.
Okay, all right. And yes, Jiten?
Look at just the beauty of technology. Government was able to contact 80% of Indian population by just one simple technological idea, that just play a maintaining public hygiene message before the caller rings anyone, before the caller tune. So that small idea, without spending so much of money, we could sensitize so many people across the country that how to make put self hygiene, what to do, what not to do, how not to panic. So I think a small thing like public messages before caller tunes and all, I think this is what technology has brought on the table. Innovative ideas, small solutions, but they have massive amplification and impact.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on the program, putting things into perspective. For us, be responsible, don't panic, stay safe, and if you're unwell, observe social distancing. With that, it's a wrap. See you again next time.